Our next speaker is fresh off her, she just presented at the Vancouver in Canada Fashion Week. Her stuff also got picked up recently by Stan Walker on his national tour. She's an amazing mana wahine from Ngāti Porou and Ngai Tahu, and here to share a bit about her fashion journey, please welcome Shannon Thompson.
Hello. Oh yeah, this stuff. Okay. Kia ora everyone. I'm Shannon. This is all foreign territory to me. So you have to excuse my notes. It helps me from blabbering and keeps me on track. Firstly, thank you so much for being here. It's really nice to be able to speak and share what I do. So over the next 15 minutes, I thought I would just touch on how I started and in the fashion industry, my international experience, a bit about my brand, and kind of 6 big things I've learnt in the industry so far. Yeah, so where I started, I am South Island born and bred. I grew up or spent a lot of time with my grandparents, my nana being a seamstress herself and my papa a photographer. So the creative gene kind of flows through the family. So from a very young age, I watched my nana sew. She owned a store at my age now and had a studio that I always played in as a child. So watching her and playing with her fabrics and was a kind of a really inspiring experience for me. So she taught me how to sew when I was 5. I sewed my first pair of pajamas. I think that was truly when the seed was planted and I knew what I wanted to do. So I eventually moved into Christchurch, country girl at heart, and started high school. Majority of my time there, I focused a lot on art subjects and really kind of exploring my creative side. I graduated high school and moved to Auckland, where I enrolled in at AUT to study fashion design. For the first semester, I explored women's wear and straight away felt really underwhelmed by it, and I felt like it was a really kind of saturated area for me to explore. A lot of girls around me in my course were doing women's wear, and I just didn't get excited by it. So the following semester, I transitioned into menswear and have never looked back. It's really exciting for me to be able to push boundaries in an area that's really new to me off the back. In 2012, I graduated from uni and spent another year in Auckland doing internships and freelance work and just trying to upskill my knowledge and learn more in the industry. By the end of the year, I kind of felt like I wasn't being challenged enough and I needed more, I wanted more. So I put my portfolio together, kind of revamped it and sent it over to overseas. And within the week, I got a couple of offers from some brands in London, which was totally not on my radar. I didn't think I was going to get anything. Coming from New Zealand, my radar wasn't that big, but I thought, why not put myself out there? So I looked at the company that I was really interested in, the one that I felt I resonated with the most, and accepted the offer. And within the 4 months, I was on a plane to London. So terrifying, scary. Don't know where I was going, what I was doing. Didn't know anybody. I remember sitting in Heathrow for about 4 hours, just wondering, should I just go home? Just get back on the plane. Just the airport was huge from coming from New Zealand. So really terrifying, but pulled myself together. And 6 months into my internship, it was kind of a pivotal point where they offered me a position to be head of menswear for their company. That was a definite milestone for me in terms of my own growth, and I obviously jumped at the opportunity. I felt that I'd kind of really made my place within the company, and I loved the team, and London had really grown on me by then. I spent the next year and a bit running a team, designing collections for London and New York Fashion Week, travelling, just working with people I thought I'd never work with in the industry, which was a huge blessing in itself. There were moments where I was definitely challenged in a lot of ways, totally out of my depth. But for example, there's a fabric and textile expo called Premier Vision that happens every year in Paris. It's one of the biggest expos in the industry. And they told me 2 days before, we're sending you with an empty suitcase, go to this expo and potentially bring back or have ideas for the next collection. And that was terrifying. So they briefed me and sent me on my way. And before I knew it, I was on a train to Paris by myself, kind of really second-guessing myself, didn't know who I was going to talk to, didn't know what to say. But like John was saying, face your fear, front on, and just challenge yourself. And I kind of, in my head, was like, it's going to be okay, I'll figure it out. As you move through that fear, you just find your feet. And that was a huge experience that's stuck with me forever in terms of just pushing through it in those challenging times. So I loved it, enjoyed it, was an incredible experience, really valuable to my career. And unfortunately, my visa was coming to an end, so I had to leave the country. Very hesitantly, I got dragged out and put on a plane and sent back here, which felt like I was moving backwards. But I think that was also part of my headspace at the time. I was living in London, big city, busy lifestyle, constantly on the go, and I came back here just over a year ago now, and just felt like, what now? I'm back here, and a little bit defeated, went through that kind of process for a couple of months, and just decided I've always ultimately wanted to own my own label, and it felt like, what better time than now? It was now or never moment for me, that I step into doing it myself. And so I drove straight out to my grandparents again, where it all started, where it all began. And my nana, who still has her studio today, who's still sewing today, welcomed me with open arms, and I just pretty much locked myself in her studio for a year and just built my brand, and also created my first collection out there as well with my nana. So that was incredibly special thing to share that with her as well. So back to, so I finished the collection with her, and in October last year I launched my label, and Out of Comfort was born. Out of Comfort is primarily about just stepping out of your comfort zone. It's about my personal experience within the fashion industry. It's about facing those fears, confronting them, learning, growing, encouraging, and challenging the norm and what is expected in just in everyday life and in any industry. So I take a lot of my inspiration from workwear, functional workwear. For example, brands like Carhartt are one of my biggest inspirations and always have been. So this idea of form follows function is a really core part of who I am as a brand and my identity. I am also a seasonless brand, focusing heavily on outerwear. I love the craft and the technical side of outerwear, and I find that all really interesting. So I also believe that we're at a time in the industry where you can make your own rules, follow your own rules, and there's a fashion calendar, as they call it. Kind of you go by the every 6 months, seasons, and I just felt I didn't fit in there, and I wanted to branch out of that and really support slow fashion. I feel like we need to slow down and put more thought into what we're wearing, and I think that's really important, especially in a market of fast fashion just soaring higher and higher. So after launching my first collection, I stepped into producing a number of pieces here in Christchurch, and after doing that, I decided to produce everything here in Christchurch. I felt it was really important to support our own economy, our own city, our own people, and not go offshore. In saying that, yes, it does make things more expensive, but I think it's worth it. It's worth every part of it. And I will continue to do that for as long as I'm doing this, hopefully for a while. So it's really important to me to keep my supply chain really short and build relationships with local makers and suppliers. And I have some really amazing, beautiful people who work for me in Kaiapoi and Aranui, who are just so incredible at what they do. And it's really awesome to even just hear their knowledge of where they've been in the industry and what they are doing now, basically working out of their homes, because we just don't have the capacity to have manufacturers even in our own city, which is really sad. So I want to be that one that, and hopefully more, that support our own people in our own city. So over this last year, I was invited to show my collection at Long Time Come, this one here, in Vancouver Fashion Week. I got the email and just thought, oh, it's just spam. Kind of flagged that off, deleted it, got on with my day, and got another email following up, and I was like, oh, it's weird. Deleted it, just kept thinking, oh, it's all the spam. And then they contacted me through Instagram. I was like, oh, and it was one of the organisers, and I was like, oh, maybe that was something. Ran back to my laptop, scrolled through my trash file, and I found it, and I was like, oh, totally didn't expect this amazing opportunity to be invited over to Vancouver to present my work on an international platform, especially as a Māori. I think it was just so special and a really cool experience. And currently I'm working on my next collection. I have some really amazing interns from Ara in the central city there, which I find is really cool, just watching interns work for me now and where I was. And it was a really strange concept, interviewing people for my brand. So that was, a pretty big moment for me. And currently working with Stan Walker has been an amazing opportunity. He is an incredible man, and we really sit well with each other in terms of what we want to express in an artistic way, especially for our people, encouraging young Māori to push the boundaries and know that your dreams are never too big, and that you can do it. You just need the right people around you. Remember to breathe. So I guess that's a bit of a roadmap of who I am, what do I do, and I thought I'd kind of round it off with sharing 6 lessons that I've learnt in the industry so far, that I feel kind of have always dripped into my everyday life and me as a person as well. So 6 lessons I've learnt. My first one is point of difference, finding my pivotal point, my muse, my core, my purpose, who I am as a designer. I feel like it's easy to put a name on a t-shirt and sell 50 of them, which is not bad. I think go for it if that's what you want to do. But for me, I think in my brand, the idea of longevity is really important to me, and pushing those boundaries to stay relevant, I guess, as well. The second one, focus on building your brand. Quality product and quality relationships. I think it's really important to take the time to do, and putting that energy into your brand like it's my baby is definitely something I take really seriously. And I think take, like how I mentioned, I spent nearly over a year just building, just out of comfort, and just wanting to know that it was everything that I wanted it to embody, I think is really important. Leave your ego at the door. This was one I learnt in America. I was at New York Fashion Week. I've spent about 3 months there, and just people want to break you down. No matter who you are, what you do, you're small if you're not above anyone else. And someone once told me, really simply, just don't be a dick. And that has always stuck with me. I think I've learnt to just always be kind, always encourage, always uplift people around you. I have people asking me, like, you help me with this, or how did you do that? And I feel like I've always got time for that. And I think I started out there, and so I have appreciation for where people start. Fourth, don't grow too fast. I've learned to be patient. Patience has been a massive learning for me in this last year. The fashion industry is heavily saturated with brands everywhere you look. So you're constantly looking at what everyone else is doing, how fast they're moving, and it's been a massive learning for me to just be patient. And when I'm offered things, don't just take it just because it's a good opportunity. Really know that that is something you want to put your name forward for. Because it's easy to take an offer, but it really sucks if you underdeliver. The fifth one, keep learning, seek advice, mentorship. I have mentors, I have business mentors. I'm constantly wanting to upskill my craft. I'm always encourage people to do day courses, night courses, YouTube courses. I didn't come up in the business world at all. So for me, business is a very new, raw part of my brand that I had no idea about. For example, Xero, freaky, learn it. So yeah, I think for me, I'm still learning. I'm only a year and a half in. And I'm constantly just wanting to learn. And yeah, my final lesson, it's not easy, don't give up. I think this really translates in just my life in general. Life is challenging, life is hard. You're constantly thrown curveballs all the time. I come to or hit challenges and just question what I'm doing, why am I doing it? And I think it's those moments where you push through and your growth really happens. So yeah, don't give up in anything. Fight for it. If it's your purpose, if that's what you feel you believe in, then yeah, I encourage you to fight through that. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to me. I am going to end with a film I created with a friend of mine, Jasper J. He's a videographer based in Auckland. Yeah, and we created this piece of work together. Thank you.